Hey tribe, I hope everyone's having a beautiful, amazing last few months. Just wanted to share a few things that I've been contemplating and thinking and intuiting here. For human consciousness to evolve, the conversation must deepen. Our ancestors said there are 3 ways to get to God, to go to God or to Goddess. The first one is prayer. A step up from that is meditation. And a step up from that is conversation. They also said that the proof of meditation is not in the cave, not in your solitude, but in the marketplace. Which then means that we have to bring dialogue out into the world. So my ultimate goal of starting this YouTube channel is to evolve human consciousness, to start a new conversation about new beginnings, and a conversation about evolving love. I specifically focus on love because love is going to be the pivotal factor in our evolution, especially in our consciousness and our mind evolution, what's going to evolve our species. Let's talk about pitocin. Pitocin is a medicine that is used very commonly when you're in the labor and delivery unit at the hospital. Pitocin is used to induce labor, which means to start labor, or it's used to start up your contractions if your labor stops or stalls. What pitocin actually is synthetic oxytocin. Now, oxytocin is a chemical or hormone that is naturally released from our bodies. Oxytocin is released when we fall in love. Oxytocin is released when we have orgasm. Oxytocin is released when we are doing something that we absolutely love. It doesn't necessarily have to be romantic love. It can be you gardening or dancing or singing or doing your art. Anything that makes you really be in the present moment, really be in love with what's going on around you. That's when oxytocin is released naturally. Oxytocin is naturally released when it's time for you to have your baby. Oxytocin is what causes the contractions to start happening. One thing I definitely have realized is that we need more oxytocin in our lives. I think everybody needs more oxytocin in our lives. You can have oxytocin release even if you just really give someone a nice heart, authentic hug. So, what we actually give women in the hospitals to start their labors, to start their birth, is synthetic oxytocin, pitocin, or synthetic love. So we're actually giving love, the synthetic love to our patients to have them to give birth. That's really interesting. That's really interesting. This is something that pitocin is fairly new, considering the age of drugs. Meaning, we really don't know the effects that pitocin is going to have yet because we've only been using it for like a couple of decades. Don't quote me on that. But it's just really interesting to think that we have to give synthetic love in order for your baby to come out, or in order for you to continue your labor if it stops. What is it that this is telling us? What is it that this is what I've learned in the last 10 years being in the hospital? What I find that's important, that was important for me in my births, in my laboring experiences, was if you feel supported, if you feel loved, if you feel secure, if you feel grounded, if you feel safe, there's no need for synthetic oxytocin. There's no need for synthetic love. So I noticed that when women are given the option for pitocin, most of the time women don't know what they're getting into. And if you don't know your options, you really have no options. Which is why I'm constantly telling people, please do your research. Please know what it is that you're getting into before you go into a hospital to have a baby. I noticed that women are, most of the time, they're in fear. They don't feel secure. They don't feel supported. And in these instances, even if labor does start naturally, it stops because of your emotional state and your mental state. Let me tell you what oxytocin does. Oxytocin, I'm going to get the chemical thing right here real quick. Oxytocin signals nitric oxide. Nitric oxide signals derived endothelial relaxing factor. Well, this is what that does. All these fancy words basically saying what that last chemical does is open your heart. It literally helps the arteries in your heart to soften, to fill with blood, to open. Now you have more blood, you have more oxygen, you have more nutrients, and you feel when that's happening to you with oxytocin, when you're full of oxytocin, you feel your heart full of love. And it's a kind of love that you experience that's very hard to describe, but I like to describe it as, in the Bible they say, your cup runneth over. This is what oxytocin does. Now let's get into pre-eclampsia real quick. Pre-eclampsia is high blood pressure while you're pregnant. There's not too many 20-year-olds that have high blood pressure, but I'm starting to see it more and more and more in the hospital. 20-year-olds who are pregnant who have high blood pressure. What is it that's happening to your heart when you have high blood pressure? Your heart is working too hard. It's constricting. It's too much pressure. You understand what I'm getting to. So what is it that's missing in your heart or in your life when you have high blood pressure? Oxytocin, love. I hope you guys understand where it is that I'm going with this. What I'm saying is I'm seeing the effects of the lack of love in our society, and it's going to affect every part of our society. I specifically get to see it with laboring women constantly. We don't know the implications of what pitocin is going to do to the children in the future. We don't know the implications of what pitocin is doing to women at this time. Like I said, there's a lot of research that needs to be done with this. But from my intuition, I feel like it's very obvious to me that what we need more of is love. We need women in labor to feel more supported, more secure, more safe. And once you have these things, then there's going to be, I guarantee there's going to be a decreased need for pitocin if you have enough love in your body, in your life, in your heart. There's going to be a decrease of pre-eclampsia if you figure out what the root cause is. So let's talk about love. Let's talk, how are we really loving each other? You know, like, do you really take the time to love the people around you? Or are we too busy with social media and all the other distractions that this society spoons out to us to keep us distracted by design? We really need to start paying attention to how we're loving each other. And of course, that starts with self-love. So pay attention to how you're loving yourself, especially when you're pregnant. No, actually, at any time. But when you're pregnant, not only do you have to give yourself all this extra love, now you have a whole nother human being that you have to give love to. So let's pay attention to how we're loving each other. We're capable of restructuring our entire brains now. We already know about neuroplasticity. We already know about the subconscious mind versus the conscious mind and how all that works. We already know the reasons why habits and belief systems are hard to break. Because when you put in years and years of energy into the neurons for a bad habit or a belief that no longer serves you, those neurons become very strong. They're almost like ingrained into your brain. And it takes a lot of effort, a lot of focused intention, a lot of consistency, and willpower to break through those old neuron patterns and create new ones. But it can be done, and we have no excuse now. I'm starting to offer prenatal classes online through Skype. And this is not going to be your typical prenatal class. This is going to be a spiritual prenatal class. You can get the typical prenatal classes, like the stages of labor and all this, basic diet stuff, through a regular prenatal class. You can even watch it on YouTube videos or a traditional prenatal class at the hospital. But my class is going to be specifically on the emotional, spiritual significance of everything that's happening to your body, preconception, during pregnancy, and during labor. Like, what's the spiritual significance of the placenta? What's the spiritual significance of amniotic fluid? How to program your breast milk? Essential rituals that need to be done during pregnancy. There's just a lot of things that our ancestors used to do during pregnancy that we don't do anymore. We basically don't do much of anything. When we get pregnant, a lot of women just, I'm going to say the majority of women, it's very common for them to just not do anything and just go to their appointments, if they even go to their doctor's appointments, just to make sure everything is okay, and that's it. So I'm really looking forward to teaching this information. I'm going to go into esoteric topics in pregnancy and psychedelics, breastfeeding, essential rituals that need to be done, meditations. I'm going to go ahead and put more information down in the description box, but basically it's going to be monthly, and it's going to be on or around the full moon, just so you know. So I would appreciate some feedback, some comments. Please share your experiences as far as anything that I have talked about today. Peace.